word of mouth is probably the most powerful thing, right, in marketing. And so I had a colleague, Michael Ward, who's my counterpart over at the Wilson College of Textiles. Him and I were talking. I don't know if it was just randomly. We correspond often about work, about life, and everything in between. And so we were talking about just some professional development opportunities, some things that I was doing kind of ad hoc and some things I was considering. And he had just finished going through the cohort, or maybe he had maybe a semester removed from going through it, and had talked Patton up. Felt like he was a really dynamic person. This is before Patton was kind of becoming a little bit more frequent on campus, and so I looked into it, and then had a conversation with Patton. Just kind of said, "Hey, here's who I am. Kind of this is what I'm kind of considering. What do you think? What can I expect?" And then yeah, joined in the trying to remember now. I think it was the summer of 2001, and maybe I think that's right. So yeah, it's been right now 3 years, but that was the reason why I started out as a colleague, kind of just a genuine interest in professional development, and then talked with Pat, and I felt like it was a good opportunity to take. It was interesting. Interesting in that what I originally maybe had thought about the program versus what I actually got. The original thought was, kind of the hey, this is gonna not say run of the mill or make it to dumb it down, but I thought I was just going to get some different skills, techniques, thoughts on leadership, which that's in there, right? There's some foundational things, um, but then there are certain aspects that happen not so much in the content, but how the cohort worked together with the content, and to me that was the highlight of it, because there were folks in there that came from very different backgrounds, but were in very different aspects of the industry, different organizations, right? I'm in the higher ed space. And so getting an opportunity to talk with people that were in fraternity, sorority organizations, folks that were in art organizations, some folks that were in higher ed, some folks that were working in things like the Boy Scouts and some of those other governmentally supported, but very dynamic organizations, hospitals, etc. Um, I thought that was interesting because you get a chance really to you think that you're sharing, like you get a chance to kind of you're talking about some of your woes that you get at work, and it's similar, but it's completely different at the same time. So I thought for me there was a healthy appreciation on just the advantages that I have, and where I'm at, but then also how the advantages can make things challenging, right? You having a big organization is not always, it doesn't make you as nimble in some regards. But then at the same time, the work-life balance could be a little bit different to when you are doing the stewardship side as well as doing the fundraising side all in one shop. And I know that from being in different shops, but it's different when the shop is really just one person. You kind of say shop just to be cute, but it really is. I got a chance to talk with some folks that they did everything. And I'm scratching my head like, there's no way, right? But they're doing it. So that's a long answer of saying I gained a really good appreciation for our field, the field of philanthropy, the field of fundraising, and I was able to take some of those thoughts and saying, all right, go back to my team. Maybe I wasn't as strongly about the challenges that we had. I had a different appreciation, a different outlook on it. Like, you know what, this is not actually a bad thing for us. Um, and then also I was able to take, you know what, these some of these other organizations do this really well, and it made me think about, are we doing our donor relations better, or as the best as we possibly can? Because some of these organizations really do a phenomenal job It's not like a conveyor belt system. They really are spending time and personalizing things to get a chance to know people. Are we doing that, in our end, or are we moving too quickly for ourselves? So, again, longer answer, but um, I think it was the diverse cohort that to me was probably the biggest takeaway. The thing that I felt was best was just there was there was a topic on your personal board of directors that Penn had shared. I really took to that both professionally but also personally. And again, um, not to water down, but at the same time, some of these things are very foundational. You can take a premise and different people to have different ways that they try to make it memorable. That concept really landed for me, that board of directors. And so to me, that was probably the biggest um, takeaway was just that idea of, who am I keeping close to me? Um, who am I allowing to speak into me? Who am I kind of going and sharing my concerns and my fears and anxieties? Who am I sharing my success and my visions and my aspirations with? Who am I pouring into? Just being who I am. I think that it was just that service aspect, both in receiving but also giving, that I thought was really good. And again, although it was largely centered around what you're doing in the professional space, I quickly started thinking about that almost immediately in my personal space. So um, I didn't make any proclamations to some of my friends. They know that they're on, but for some of them, I did. There was my best friend. I shared with him that, and I said, I'm making you chair the board at this point in time. And he was like, "What?" So he's not in the space, but I thought that was a really cool takeaway, both personally and professionally for me. So it's all in context. I mean, it was fine because that's where we were. Like I said, I was in the summer of 2021, so that was just the way that we were doing business. Um, I I think I would appreciate doing it again in a in-person setting, solely because you just get the chance to have the off the line conversations, right? And we did that naturally, but again, it's like that was very good and respectful on time. And so, you didn't have that opportunity when you're in the room and you can maybe go walk to the car together and have that little bit of extra conversation. I've just noticed that those are those small little details or little pros of being in person that you can have. But the virtual platform was good. We worked the break rooms and did all that fun stuff. So we managed through it really well. I don't think it was very difficult, right? It was reflective. You get a chance to do anything out loud, and in front of your colleagues. There's always a little bit of apprehension, maybe anxiety, a little nervousness, but it can also be edifying when you hear yourself say something and then you get some responses back. So I was fine with the hot seat aspect of it. I know, trying to remember by the time it got to me, maybe I was right in the middle. Uh, it, I was kind of comfortable on what to expect. The thing about the hot seat is just being the first one, because then you kind of set the stage almost, and some of us set the stage, but you really kind of almost give everyone an opportunity to say, all right, this is what it looks like. Now I know what to expect. It's just the anxiety of not knowing what it is. Um, so it wasn't bad. And so I actually have one of the members of my team. She had recommended. Well, it was kind of a mutual recommendation. She had heard it through the grapevine, and I had previously mentioned it to her maybe about a year ago. I think. A person that is probably, and I don't want to put this in a number form. I think you just need to have like where you are, so as far as sophistication is not the right word, but maybe just assurance in your career. You gotta have a pretty pretty clear, maybe clear to hazy, right? I use the a baking terminology, almost about a half baked vision on where you want to be, because that can maybe give you an opportunity to maybe consider pivots where you need, but then also give you a better vision of the path that you want, that you feel like you want to go. So, I, specifically, I think it's someone that kind of has a pretty good idea of, hey, I want to get in this space. Um, I kind of know a little bit about who I am. At least I've been able to trial a little bit of who I am as a professional. Um, Maybe even have a little bit of leadership opportunities. You don't need to be have a leadership title to be in this. I think you just need to maybe get to the point to where you have seen yourself in a leadership role at some point in time, because there was a lot of conversations that we could have about our leadership abilities and capabilities, and learning lessons, and things that we lamented about, versus coming in brand new and saying, look, I'm just the person putting staples in the printouts. So probably a mid-career person. So this is where I need to do better, right? Is just the network. I'm at that point now, and I say at that point, it's just part of my natural personality. Like I keep my head down, so sometimes it's hard for people to stop me. My friends say that about me. Um, I do know when I do, I don't know what the right word is, but I follow. I see, we all connected on LinkedIn. I'm not always on there, but I get a chance to I guess it's troll through there, and I can see folks that I was in the cohort with, and folks that have joined it. I've got, like I said, I've got colleagues here now that have been a part of it. So to me, it's just the idea of diversifying your network. um, I have called a couple of folks like, "Hey, I remember you had this deal come up in your hot seat conversation. How did it go? Because I think I've got something very similar." I've been fortunate enough, someone reached, a couple, well, I think it was 2 or 3 people have reached out to me asking about different roles here on campus, but then also asking like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into the higher ed space. What are your thoughts about that?" So that's that to me is gratifying. I think of myself as a person. I'm definitely would love to give and offer help wherever I possibly can. I don't think I've gone through this career just for my own benefit. So being able to share my experiences with people that feel that there's a value, but then also being able to reach out to folks, um, that, like I said before, come from a different perspective, different industry, and that maybe they can offer a gleam of um, diversity into how I'm thinking about something. I'm more of a book person now. I collect books at this point in time, and chew on them periodically. So for me, a lot of my development is just like I shared before, these different concepts. I'm really starting to look at what the benefit of having emotional intelligence, right, and being more knowledgeable around emotional intelligence, things about trust. I think it's the book is called The Speed of Trust. I think is the name of it. I've digested that. I need to pick that up. It's somewhere on my nightstand somewhere. My dean just recommended another book, The Happiness Advantage, that I need to go ahead and order. I read some of the information on it, but it's just the idea of creating more happiness for self indirectly creates more productivity at your job, and just that small little simple concept. Another book is I think it's 40,000 hours, 40,000 hours a week or something like that. Someone else just recommended to me. So it's a lot of my professional development is in just taking different leadership, personal growth, professional growth content, and digesting them. Um, I would say, yeah, that's my number one. I haven't jumped into another cohort session since 2021.